In the last few years, the City of Slidell and the parish have established incentives for big box stores and franchises to come to Slidell. In many cases, this has been a detriment to locally owned small businesses. What is your plan to level the playing field and incentivize local small business development to keep them competitive with the big boxes and franchises?
Well, as I said a minute ago, I would prefer Walmart not to be on every corner. I remember the day when I could go to the corner red and white grocery store and get a soda pop on my grandmother's account and walk out without ever putting a nickel on the counter. Those days are long gone, folks. But the big boxes are here. They're going to be here. They have driven some of our smaller mom and pop shops out of business, and the only way that I can determine that we could incentivize those big boxes to involve in the community is to give them incentives to, if you will, shop locally. If they're going to add to their store, they're going to build their store, use a local contractor to build that. Don't use some big firm from Timbuktu to come into our community and take our jobs that our people could do. Buy your lumber and your metals and everything else, your concrete, locally. If you're gonna use produce, if you're gonna sell produce like Walmart in our area, buy locally. Buy locally sourced seafood. Utilize our community. That way you're not taking from the community completely, you're giving back and putting into the community. Now there's other opportunities for them to get involved and engage in our community and serve. We have to encourage that to happen, and that would be through support, philanthropic support of our Little League ball fields, our any other affiliated social organizations that need support or help. Work with the Veterans Cemetery out here to sponsor a work day to clean up, things of that nature, to engage them in the community, but to give back to the community, not just take from our community. The only way we can get that done is if we would put some incentives when they come into town, into their contracts and into their property agreements.
Thank you. Excuse me.
Thank you. Large national retail establishments have their own marketing teams that evaluate which economies and locations match up to their customer base. Big retail stores will continue to come to market their goods and services to our citizens. However, I do not support giving incentives for large retail businesses to locate in our city while giving no incentives for our locally owned businesses. Our citizens have taken the risk, employed local people, and they need to be treated as fair as any company that wants to do business in the city. We have many local businesses that are thriving. Do we need a major shopping center in our area? Yes, that answer is correct. If they are not here, our citizens will go shop elsewhere. A large retail store generates larger sales tax and property tax that is needed for the city. Thank you.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Brenda. First of all, through my experiences and journey throughout really the country, I've had the pleasure of meeting with other elected officials and get their insight on how do they help their local small businesses when you have the issue of the large national chains coming in. One of them I found was actually close, which was really interesting. It was in Gulfport, Mississippi. The mayor and I spent a lot of time together. And one of the things that they did was they used their community block grant money. Now we get an allocation directly to the city of Slidell. So there's that funding that's in place. But there's also community development funding through the state, through the Department of HUD. And what they did was they took those dollars and they incentivized each one of the local small businesses that wanted to help them in their marketing and their business facilities. Also things like the internet that I talked about earlier. And I thought that was a really interesting idea. I think that the time of incentives for the big box stores is past. Typically those were used to get cash registers in so people could shop, local governments could get revenue going, and those dollars could only have been used for infrastructure of the roadway, the sewer and water that was provided. It actually could not be used for building a building or subsidizing the business that would be in the building. And the other one is the Department of Agriculture. They also have an economic development component, worked with them through the Regional Planning Commission on receiving dollars to do feasibility studies on, our small businesses and how we help them here in our local area. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clement.
We could sit here and say that we're not going to incentivize businesses to move into our area, and I think that would be folly. What we have to do is work with small companies and our small businesses to find ways that we can help them to be successful. The State Department of Economic Development has a program called Fast Start, and Fast Start was actually something that was created in St. Tammany Parish. It is an opportunity to quickly train up the workforce so that you'll have available workers for those companies that are coming in. Additionally, there are other grants, there are other incentives that the state of Louisiana will offer to small businesses. It's really difficult to level the playing field. And if you look, according to Bloomberg, you look at what's happening in our country relative to small and large businesses. Big boxes are hurting. We're losing Target, we're losing Academy. It's not that the big boxes are thriving so much, it's that our world is changing. And the techniques and the ideas that were in place 20 years ago are not going to work today. We have to look at what's going on in the world. What's going on in the world is you have e-commerce. If you want to support your small businesses, you have to shop small. You have to be there. You have to show up and you have to help them. So we all have a role to play in the success of all of our businesses in town. We have to be there, we have to shop, we have to spend money, and we have to keep them in business. Now, these small companies, it would be really great if they want to go off and do computer training, learn some new software. But most of the mom and pops or the 3 and 4 employee companies don't have the opportunity to leave their business and to go out and to leave for a day and go get some training. So I will look at the resources that exist within the city, because as a part of my assessment, I will look at every department to see if we cannot find a way where we can use some city resources to go into these businesses to help advance their business skills.